Welcome to Monday Morning Coffee with Inside the Firm. Each week, our hosts will be interviewing local, regional, and national business leaders to give you an inside peek into how they lead their business to success in the ever-competitive business climate.
Welcome to another edition of Inside the Firm. This is the Monday morning edition. I'll be your host, Alex Gore, today, instead of Lance Cayko. And I'm here with Trent, who has a passion for construction that was inspired by watching his father work hard in the industry. After graduating from NDSU, go North Dakota State, shout out, my alumni as well.
Is it?
Nice. Absolutely. He began his career at a small construction firm where he spent 4 years honing his skills and then continued his journey with PCL thereafter, leading him through a series of leadership roles, 18 years of pre-construction estimating, 4 years of operation management, and ultimately now district manager. Trent, welcome inside the firm.
Wow, what an introduction.
Yeah.
That's just going to be hard to follow. Appreciate that, though. That's awesome. And a fellow Bison, like horns up, right?
Horns up.
It's awesome. I unfortunately was not at NDSU when I was there, having a background in a little bit in architecture and construction. The football team was not nearly as successful as it is now. So
what year did you graduate?
96. So dating myself a bit.
The Sioux were still decent back then, which is not good.
Yeah.
The Fighting Hawks, my bad.
The Fighting Hawks,
dating myself.
Yep. But we still fondly refer to them as the Sioux. We do the construction company that I manage, PCL, the division I manage is in Minneapolis, a suburb of Minneapolis called Edina. But actually, we do work in the Red River Valley. So I have a office in Fargo, and we are doing work there in Fargo, and we still do work in Grand Forks as well. So we are often talking about the Bison and the Sioux and the rivalry between the two schools.
Speaking of going in the Wayback Machine, I really need to nail this down. Edina, you guys are the cake eaters, right?
That is absolutely. It is a term of endearment that people use regarding residents of Edina. I am not a resident of Edina, so I don't qualify under that terminology. It's just our office is in Edina. I live in a different suburb, so let's say from 7 to 5, I reside in the cake eater world. The rest of the hours, I'm a suburbanite.
There you go. Could you tell us about PCL, because it's pretty huge, what it does and where it's located?
For sure. Great question. So PCL is a large international construction company. We have offices throughout the U.S. and Canada. We also do have a presence in Australia with respect to recently their push for renewable energies. We do a lot of solar work, large utility scale solar. So that's brought us into the country of Australia. In, let's say, North America, a very, very large organization. I think latest ENR has us ranked, I forget, 7 or 8 largest general contractor in North America. We originated in Canada in the early 1900s by an individual named Ernie Poole. Back then it was called Poole Construction Limited. So that's where the PCL comes from. It originated with the Poole family. It was sold to a group of employee investors in the mid-70s, and ever since has been an employee-owned company. And then it grew from there, came into the U.S. in the late 70s. This office was established in 1978. So it'll be coming up on a nearly 50-year presence in Minneapolis. Our Denver operations in Denver is where our U.S. head office is located. So all of the operations in the U.S. fall under the guidance and the support of that U.S. head office. And then in the U.S., we have 4 different verticals. We do commercial construction or commercial buildings, in which I'm a part of that. We do heavy industrial, so oil and gas. We do civil, mostly water and wastewater is the other vertical. And the last, again, as I mentioned, is renewable energies, particularly solar and battery energy storage.
Is any one of those taking off? Is solar still going strong? Are you getting into the data center game?
Yep.
And how many people are actually working at your firm, not subs? roughly?
Roughly, so great question. So PCL, again, as an employee ownership group, we have nearly 5,000 employees
That's
across
huge.
across the U.S. and Canada. I don't know the difference between the numbers of the headcount versus Canada versus the U.S., but it's nearly 5,000 salaried employees, thousands more of other employees self-perform. We do a lot of our own work as general contractors. With respect to the data centers, we do have other verticals, or call them centers of excellence. We have a sports and convention center of excellence. So we pursue a lot of professional and collegiate sports. We do have a data center of excellence. We have a vice president of mission critical in the U.S. That handles our data center world. Yeah, so it's a very, very diverse construction company. We cover a lot of different market sectors and segments across the U.S. and Canada.
Is your finger on the pulse of, and it depends because there's different industries, so maybe this isn't possible, but have you seen a slowdown? Have you seen an uptick recently? What's your sense of what's going on in the construction industry?
Just in general?
Yeah, in
In
general.
general, we continue to see a surge in lots of our different market segments. Some are growing more rapidly than others. Obviously, right now, the need for clear and clean water throughout the U.S. is a big thing. So our civil water and wastewater treatment division is very, very busy across all markets across the U.S. Data centers, you can't hardly turn on social media or even watch local news or national news to continue to hear about the surge for data centers and the need for data centers as they go from cloud-based to AI. We're involved in several large data center projects across the U.S. Solar continues to grow a bit, but with the recent administrative changes and the current administration of the United States has different opinions on renewable energies and tax credits. So that's putting a stress on the solar industry in the U.S. in and of itself. But it's not slowing down. It's not, I would say, in my opinion, not that I'm involved a lot in solar, but it's not surging at the pace it was maybe 2-3 years ago, where utility scale solar projects were being planned and constructed all across the U.S. Now it's, I think, more targeted in specific regions.
Yeah. For your self-performed work, do you guys run the whole gamut? Meaning, there's typical things that are no matter what you're building, and I'll just say the generic terms. You got your framers, siders, concrete guys and girls, and then your MEP. Are you doing all of those?
No, well, it depends. Great question. It depends on the vertical or the market, the sector of work. For the commercial buildings, we do typically what you mentioned. We are in Minnesota, where I'm based. We are a union general contractor, so I do have carpenters, laborers, cement finishers, operators, those men and women that do that work on my workforce, and we will self-perform that kind of work: concrete, demolition, carpentry, those kind of things. We don't self-perform our own mechanical, electrical here in this market. We do use trade contractors for that. On the flip side of that, in our heavy industrial and our civil world, we do a majority of the self-perform, from excavation to concrete, heavy mechanical, heavy electrical. Just depends on the market. Same thing with solar. We do a lot more self-perform in solar than we do in the commercial buildings, but it's just by nature of the kind of work it is. But
If you're setting up the panels, you might as well be there to connect it. Like what are you talking about? That's part.
Yeah, for sure. And it really depends on the region and the different jurisdictions of the states in the cities in which you build. Particularly in Minnesota, it's a union state, so we have to abide by union agreements and what work is part of what union and what skill set. So it just varies from state to state. So as we continue to expand and work across the U.S., we just have to take all those locality things into consideration. But for the commercial buildings that I do, we self-perform a small portion of the direct work, and most of it's with trade partners.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, that leads into, the construction industry, the blue collar in general. And
Mhm.
one thing we wanted to talk about is to delve into the construction side of this industry. And one part that isn't probably talked about a lot is the mental health as a concern in the construction industry. So, how are you, fostering openness, looking at your culture around this topic in the construction industry?
Yeah, great question. I'm glad you brought it up. Mental health in the construction industry, as I put it, um, I think it's always been there. And what we're trying to do as construction leaders now is, you've heard reduce the stigma or eliminate the stigma of people not wanting to talk about it. Um, as you mentioned at the beginning, having an interest in construction when I was very young, and my father being in the construction industry, those baby boomer types were, don't tell me how bad it is. Just get to work. And I don't want to hear about your feelings, and I don't want to hear about what you're doing. Let's just do your job and go home. And that's kind of the way the blue collar construction has been for years and years, decades. Um, but as we continue to see the mental health struggles, particularly in the construction industry, and the women and men that are involved in it, particularly the men, because they're the higher percentage of individuals that end up having mental health issues or get into a crisis, or God forbid, begin to use suicide as a means to an end. Um, we have to reduce the stigma, and we have to continue to allow people to have a voice, and to provide them with an environment where it's okay to talk about it. I'm a big proponent of it. Suicide has directly impacted me in my life. I
Hmm.
lost my youngest brother several years ago to suicide. He
I'm
happened to
sorry to
be in
hear
the
that.
construction. Yeah, he happened to be in the construction industry, and quite frankly, it took me a long time to talk about it. It's not something that I used to freely talk about, and maybe that was because of my own stigma around it. Was I going to be judged because I had a brother that decided that suicide was a way for him to deal and cope with the issues he was dealing with? So over the last several years, as the construction industry has turned more from let's not talk about it, let's be open about it, let's provide support to our employees, let's provide an environment and a willingness to talk about it, and provide people that, again, that space and that area to be honest with themselves and with the people around them. I use the terminology that many of us in the construction industry have been aware of the issue for a very long time. We have to go from awareness to action, and that's the terminology I use a lot lately. Is sure, we're aware of it. What are actionable items, or what are things that we should be doing to help reduce the stigma, and again, end suicide?
One of the things I just stopped teaching at the University of Colorado Boulder, but I was teaching engineering drawing and all that. And I ad-libbed because I was trying to get across the point. And this is just a small thing that I was telling about how your drawings need to be clear. Because I've been out into the field, moved sheets of plywood in the middle of winter, you know, hammered, installed windows, all that stuff. Not to a great extent, but
Yeah.
the ad lib that I had in the class was, it is harder factually than what you are doing. So anything you can do to help the field, to make it clear, to make them less mad because things don't work and dumb, is something that's going to have an impact. And because it's such a serious issue, I kind of want to maybe rip the band-aid off, and I'll tell you my perspective, and you can agree or not agree, but I think a lot of the mental health stems from, and this is what I've seen, physical health, meaning it is a rough, tough job. And to give an analogy, everyone is aware that professional wrestlers, the theatrical ones, Jake Paul and The Rock and stuff like that, all those guys, they get on pills. This is just like a known thing because they're actually physically running into each other, jumping off of ropes, hitting each other. And it can be a great issue for them because they're in constant pain. They get on pills. In the construction industry, there's a lot of either physical injury or a lot of just physical work. And there's a use of drinking, not just on the weekends to go to an NDSU game or whatever. There's marijuana use. Um, and I don't know if there's as much pills use, but if you look at the wrestling industry, it's not like that's going to solve the issue. It might mask some pain, but does that ever come up, the stem of the physical stress into the mental stress, and then what are some strategies to kind of cope? Because if it's only alcohol and drugs, I think that we're not talking about something that is a part of this issue. And I'm not saying they're all doing it. I'm just
Right.
saying I've I've seen it. I've
Yeah,
seen it.
there is a stereotypical prototype construction worker, and that's from the old days, very, very stern, not open, beer drinking, hammer and pounding guys, right?
Yeah.
That's what people think construction is. And for the longest time, that's probably what it was. Nowadays it is trending more towards highly educated people, people that are using construction and understand that a career in the trades is absolutely a very honorable thing to do. It can be very lucrative, particularly in today's world. It offers opportunities for students or people that don't want to don't think college is for them. Construction offers a very, very optimistic and a very good career for people. The unfortunate part of it is, like you said, it can be looked at as unsafe if you work for a contractor that doesn't have safety in mind all the time. Safety first, it can be very unsafe. You can get injured. And when you get injured and you aren't able to work, then you put in the mental stress of how do I support my family or myself? And then if you're not able to work for a long time, then you're like looking for an avenue and a way to kind of remove yourself from the pain of the day to day of I can't provide, I can't work. So that's where I think a part of the industry goes when they don't have that. The other part of it is construction is very cyclical, particularly if you're not mobile. So in areas that are busy, it's great. There's a big need for a labor workforce, but if it's not busy, then that work goes away. So now you put on the secondary mental anguish of where am I going to go next? Where's my next job? Where am I going to go? Who's going to hire me next? Does PCL have the next job for me? Are they not busy? Is there another general contractor in the market that I can go work for? So it's that anguish as well of where's my next job? And then in our market here in our region, compound all that with having to work outside in the cold. It's not a very glamorous career when you take all those things into consideration, and that mental stress does play a part in maybe the spiral that some people find themselves in, where they start, like your analogy, wrestlers start using pills to compensate for that. People do take to drugs and alcohol, and there is we have to continue to talk about that as well. That is part of the mental health struggles in the construction industry. You compound all those issues. The way that some people use it as an out is drugs and alcohol. So we have to be talking about that at the same time we're dealing with the mental health issue, because to me, the mental health is the trigger to the abuse, not the vice versa.
Yeah, and why I think it's so important is because when me and my wife has had fights, it's normally when we've been drinking. And we actually don't even drink anymore. We don't, and it's not
Yeah,
because we would have big fights or anything like that.
yeah,
But if you
yeah,
look at the blow ups over it, we're like, oh yeah,
yeah,
we were drinking during that time, and it continues because it dives into the construction world. Because let's say you had a hard day, right? Because it's hard labor, and you want to relax, and then you start drinking or drugs or pills or whatever you do. That is altering your home life, which is adding on to the mental things that you've said before. You have all these work concerns, and then after work, you're dealing with work through these other means, which is now work is interfering with your personal life. And if anyone studied like longevity or any of these things, it's hey, community, relationships, like those are the good things. And if uh, the coping mechanism is upsetting those other things, it can spiral
For
into the
sure.
mental issues that are going on there. And I'll set up the question this way. A couple years ago, people thought AI and intelligence and robotics and stuff would take all the blue collar jobs. And people don't think that anymore because I just did some design stuff. And it's extremely creative and research, and it's helping the white collar jobs. And the blue collar jobs, it will be farther away because if you've ever been in a building and you're trying to tear out some stud packs that you messed up, fix some plumbing, whatever, it's a lot of, you have to be dexterous and all that. And I wonder, the question is, are you guys looking at what technologies are coming to help um, move the drywall? Because, and this is what I mean, that's a broad statement, but if you think about a
Yeah.
manufacturing line, and if you think
Yep.
about GM, Toyota, whatever, they're all looking at, you all see the robotics help them move it in place and place it in there, and then they're going in and zipping it in or running a cord through. But it's a huge thing in that industry. Like, take the weight off. It's
Right.
much easier in a plant, even though obviously complex. Are you starting to see, look at, or even think about what those robotic helps might be in the future?
Well, a great question. And just to kind of put a bow on the last conversation, I would agree that there are a lot of individuals that utilize some other means of coping with mental health issues outside having conversations, confiding in your loved ones rather than stopping at the bar on the way home, um, going into an environment like we try to create on our project sites to give people the openness and the opportunity to talk with somebody. We have a lot more employee resources now than we did years ago, and that's where the construction industry is headed, is to assure that people have a better angle and a better way to deal with those mental health issues than they have in the past, and steer them away from substance abuse in order to cope. Regarding the innovation, absolutely, PCL, we believe we're on the cutting edge of innovation. We're always looking at ways in which to make our people more efficient. And I couldn't agree more with the respect of, again, watching AI, as the white collars are the ones that do I would say, for instance, design or the paperwork side of it, reading contracts, reading specifications. There's a lot of AI tools out there building RP responses. There's an AI tool out there for that now. That AI, I see AI going more into that realm than it is replacing the women in med on the project sites. Hammer and nail still exists, and I don't know if that technology will ever go away. It's kind of the same thing where, will AI ever replace agriculture? It won't. Is it going to make the farmers more efficient? Is it going to make the acreage and more efficient? Is it going to make the yield off acreage more efficient? Absolutely. But you still need to put a seed in the ground. It still needs to grow. You can't AI that. Same thing with construction. When you look at manufacturers, it's very repetitive, right? That's how the automotive industry can rely on robots, because you can program a robot at a certain place and it's going to do the same thing over and over and over again. Drywall, as you know, it's got, to use your drywall analogy,
Yeah.
it comes in many different shapes and sizes. It's got to be cut precisely, and it's not the same cut every time. Where we're going to see AI is making our people that aren't doing the hammer and nails and putting the piping together in the field, making them more efficient in places where we can better make it repetitive. So we look at AI and the opportunity for innovation is prefabrication. How do we take a lot of what's happening in the field and try to prefab it somewhere else in a controlled environment where it's repetitive, send something out to the field, and then install that prefabbed piece of whatever it might be in replacement of putting all the pieces and parts together in the field. It's speed to market faster. It's repetitive. It eliminates maybe some unsafe places where you had to put people in before, and now you don't have to. So that's where I think the AI is going to have its most impact, is this idea of prefab, this idea of making the people that don't hammer the nails in more efficient with their time. But again, every building's different, every situation's different. It's going to be hard to put robotics into that.
Yeah. This gave me an interesting vision and idea, and I'm sure that, like any initial idea, it's junk, but I don't think people understand the vast difference between the power of a machine versus the power of a person. Meaning, if you've ever hucked concrete into a garbage, container, huge one,
Yeah,
it takes a lot of work. When that truck comes to pick up that 20,000 ton container, does it in no time. If you've
right.
ever moved lumber or drywall, it takes a long time. It's a lot of work. A crane does it easy. So
Yeah,
there is always this talk and this fight in the construction industry about like pre manufacturing things in a manufacturing facility and then dragging it out on site. And there's a lot of hurdles to that as well, because they have to be placed, and might not be where the work is, and
yeah.
then you got to transfer it twice, because you transfer it to the manufacturing place and then to the site. I I think there could be many solutions, and I just, you know, thought about this now, and I'm sure some people are working on it, but your construction site could be that manufacturing where you build a wall assembly or something, and it's on some sort of thing where they're
Yeah,
standing up, all the pieces are right there, they're placing it in, and then it cranes it up, and there's a person over there putting it in, and it's a hybrid solution, but
yeah,
it might be a stepping stone where, hey, you're on the ground, everything's there, and everything's kind of laid out, and maybe the white collar, like, oh no, we've figured it out, you just make
yeah,
this chunk right here, and it's going to fit in, and we know it's going to fit in.
yeah, yeah.
um
And there's some of that already going on. There's this idea of prefab away from the shop. Like we've done, a whole entire. We did a hospital project in Canada where the entire patient room was manufactured off site and was brought in site and put together like a kit of parts, much like you've seen the rudimentary container buildings. Back there was a push for taping old shipping cargo containers and putting them together and building buildings out of them. There's also this idea of prefabbing on site as well. So you do that, and like in the healthcare industry, you'll do head walls of a patient room where you can build the wall and put it in place, but the people are still there doing the pieces and parts. We're seeing more mechanical, electrical prefab on site. Build it in one area of the site and then put it in place, rather than going right to the place and putting all the pieces and parts together right in the room or right in the space that it needs to go. So there's some of that happening already.
yeah, that's awesome. Flipping to what I think is also relating to the other things is having an appreciation for what the construction industry does. Everyone glorifies tech entrepreneurs and basketball players and whoever, but the awe that I think and appreciation that people should have, that everything that you live in is, hey, we've both been in Fargo, you live in Minnesota, it looks
Mm-hmm.
really nice and comfortable where you're at, and that's because
Yeah,
someone built that. That's
right.
because someone actually built that. And I want to talk about, are you looking at how you talk to your workers about what's meaningful, what's important, um, and the value that they're actually giving?
Yeah, I just had this conversation with a young individual, a young engineer, not so long ago about um, as I've progressed through my nearly 30-year career, there are very poignant places in my career that I look back to. And most often it's on projects that I'm very proud of have been on. Could it be small, can be big, but there's something to be said. And I appreciate the context of none of us do those fantastic things that we are acknowledged for. You talked about the tech adopters, the professional sports players, other people. You look at orchestras and things that we put in awe, bands, singers. They all, where they all do what they do in a built environment, and that
Mhm.
starts back with someone had a dream of, I want this arena to look this way. You got to go find a designer that can continue that dream. Then you got to go find a builder that can take the ideas in the drawn environment, whether or not it be 2D or 3D, and actually build it. That's what we have to do. That's where I think as we continue to look to our young folks, having them get in the AEC industry, particularly in construction, is a very noble way in which to do it. University is not for everybody. Going to college is not, it just shouldn't be assumed is the right place for everybody to go. Construction is a need, and you can have a lot of meaningful, poignant places in your career as you go through your construction career of looking at a built environment and being able to drive by it. That's what we talk about a lot too, is some of our superintendents love taking their kids to a project they just got done with and look what dad did, or look what mom did. Look at the thing I was involved in. We have people here that were involved in, we did Staples Center in LA, and now it's crypto.com, built years and years ago. One of the fastest arenas that has ever been built to this day in the United States. And the people that were involved in that project still talk about it some 20 some years later. It's a built environment. Do we talk about how great that environment is? No, you talk about the sports people that are playing in it. Those are the ones that people talk about. They don't talk about the ooh and ah of what it took to put that building together in 18 months time and the people that it took to do it. So you're absolutely right. Construction, and even what you do in the design world, you probably have the same idea that, look what I was involved in and what I created from a design perspective. And then now look at it, the built environment. It's a cool industry, and it's probably why I've been in it 30 years. It's just something that I've always wanted to do.
And I think it's, like turtles all the way down, meaning I get crap for this analogy, but I honestly believe that there's more art in a train museum than modern art museums these days. And what I mean by that, relating to the construction industry, so especially people who follow it and look at it, is that you see these electrical layouts that are beautiful. You see the way that the HVAC is laid out in the pipes. And to me, it's beautiful. People see a finished wall or tile and they say it's beautiful. But what I mean by turtles all the way down is that your framer, when you align your framing and it's an art and you are careful and precise and you get it, that means the drywaller doesn't have to add all these shims. It means they don't have to mud all over these places. And it just becomes beautiful from literally the hidden studs to the final tile work.
I agree. And I like your analogy, and this goes to, I call them artists if you want, but the women and men, the craftsmen that do that, you can tell going into a mechanical room or heavy mechanical space that's got a lot of mechanical equipment and electrical conduit in it. You can walk in, and someone that sees it a lot, I do, you can walk in and you can look at the way the conduit is laid out against the wall and the bends of someone that is very, very mindful of what their work looks like as a finished product and takes pride in their work. It's easily, I mean, it's the same thing with an artist. Like you can look, but some of these people take their craft very, very seriously. And I love nothing more. And great analogy. There's nothing better to a carpenter or to a drywall finisher than a really, really good carpenter, because that makes their job significantly easier. And the end product looks a lot better. You don't have nail holes. You don't have mud joints that are, like you said, big. They expand, they crack. But the best friend to a good drywall taper and sander is the carpenter that built that wall ahead of them.
For people that are interested and now know about PCL, maybe they already did, what's a good project that you would recommend them to Google and take a look at?
Oh boy, that's a great question. We built some really cool things across the U.S. and Canada, and even internationally, from healthcare to hospitals to sport arenas to higher education, K-12. There's just some really cool projects. Let's just focus on the United States and probably some iconic projects across the U.S. So I already mentioned Staples Center, which recently became crypto.com. That's a PCL project, and all of the development around it, LA Live, and that's a very cool thing. If you wanted to Google some of the work we're doing in the Rocky Mountains, some of the hospitality projects and the high-end ski resorts that they do up there, just phenomenal, cool things. Right here in Minneapolis, a lot of things that people probably heard about. The Mall of America is a project that PCL built years ago. We do a lot of work around the country in zoos. So if you're interested in, what's going on in the zoo world, we do a lot of work here for the Minnesota Zoo. We do a lot of work for other zoos across the country. If you have kids, or if you're a kid at heart and you ever go to Universal or Disney, a lot of the things that are done at those theme parks have PCL involvement. Maybe not all of them, but a lot of them. Wizarding World of Harry Potter in Orlando is a PCL project. So if you're a Harry Potter fan and understand and know that theme park, that's a PCL project, and it actually was replicated in Southern California. So just a lot of really cool things have been built across the United States by PCL.
Well, awesome. Trent, to wrap it up, if people are interested, where should they go to find your guys' work or connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. PCL.com. It's pretty simple. PCL.com will take you to our website, and you'll be able to see the diversity of the types of projects we do, the market sectors we interact with. And then if you want to see what's going on in your region of the world or of the United States, we have several offices like mine across the U.S. So if you're interested in what PCL is doing nationally or internationally, go to .com and then dive down into the different regions. And if you're in the metro area, Minneapolis, St. Paul, or Minnesota, reach out. We'd be happy to help with anything that anyone's got going on locally here.
Awesome. Thanks, Trent. I appreciate talking to you.
You bet. Appreciate it.